What a week it's been for Gabriel Jesus. He scored a hat-trick for Arsenal last night. He scored 4 goals this week. If you include getting his girlfriend pregnant, he's shown he can score goals on and off the field, people. Big up Gabriel Jesus, man. Jesus, you deserve your hat-trick. You've been in line, rightly so, for a lot of criticism for your lack of goals and all the other nuances that have led us to this point. I have to be that guy and ask you, lot of people, that should Gabriel Jesus, on as a fact of scoring a hat-trick, should he start against Everton? Is he back? I have to, because on one hand, I don't think necessarily this changes much. Obviously, we hope Gabriel Jesus gets some confidence. He goes on a run. We need players excluding, obviously, them as well, but we need players excluding the usual suspects as Martin Odegaard and Bukayo Saka to stand up to be counted all over the field. But I think, obviously, in line with our lack of goals from open play, clearly our attackers. And on one hand, obviously, we make a big song and dance on this platform of my support for Gabriel Jesus. Of course, I've lost faith because his form has fallen off a cliff. And call me reactionary, call me a hype merchant, etc. Should we, if you've still got Gabriel Jesus stocks, should we give it one last chance? Shout out to Raheem Sterling. I think he had a decent game against Crystal Palace. I don't know how he missed that tap-in. I think you can see Ethan is still learning the tricks and trades of the game. I think obviously the 2 goals we conceded, we need to do better. I think there was a good reaction when we conceded the first and then we got going. And there was obviously a lot of things we could have done better, a lot of things we done good. The main thing is we're into the semi-finals of this League Cup, and getting to a final and potentially winning a trophy this season is within touching distance. And we'll actually find out later today, whoever we draw, whether that would be, I don't even know, what is it, Liverpool, I'm sure Newcastle, and whoever wins out of Spurs and Manchester United, in which we'll be doing a watch along for that. The man Gabriel Jesus himself said, and obviously big him up because he walked out with his daughter as well on the pitch. So these are great moments for the children growing up, seeing their dad scoring goals and all of these kind of things. It feels amazing. Obviously, the first half wasn't our best, but still in the second half, we did our job. We created more, we kept the ball more, circulated the ball, made passes, and Martin put in 2 amazing balls in the end, and B as well, and I could finish the action. I mean, Martin Odegaard's a brilliant player, man. On another day, we wouldn't have had to use them. Obviously, on one hand, Mikel Arteta does have to utilize his squad, make changes, and make sure we've actually got bodies to be able to select in this festive period. But there would have been big question marks, rightly or wrongly, asked of Arteta with the changes, people. And the main thing is, it's just about going through. He obviously bigged up Martin Odegaard and the player he is and the pass he has in his locker. As you can see there, people. He did touch on a couple of games before. He said, against Monaco, I missed 2 clear chances, but they were more difficult than today. Obviously, I was disappointed that I didn't score in the game. At the end, I just have to keep my mind clear and strong. I work like I work with Coach Hussein. I'm sure we brought him in as a kind of individual coach, he says, every day. And he told me, look, Gabby, your quality, you need to calm down and then you'll score. That's what I did today. I'm happy to come back to score goals because I have the number 9 and the pressure will always be there to score goals. That's it. That's the challenge. I think everyone is looking forward to it in relation to Selhurst Park, not just me. They have a lot of qualities up front, down the middle, and at the back. We have to compete and then obviously go there to win the game. We know it's not easy like today. They have quality players, a strong team. That will be another war. We'll have to try and win the game. Big him up, man, in that regards. I think Selhurst Park will be, a very big test for us. It's one of those games I always say, you think of Selhurst Park, St. James's Park, Anfield, regardless of the teams. These are games that nobody likes to play there. These are some of the toughest away grounds in the country, people. It's a special time. I had pressure on my shoulders to score today, and then I walked on the pitch with my daughter as well. So she gave me power, a smile, everything that I could score goals and celebrate with my family and dedicate my goals to another baby. Big him up, man. That's what it's about, man. Mikel Arteta spoke. Let's see the key bits. Obviously, he kind of alluded to what Gabriel Jesus did as well in terms of, the first half not being good. Obviously, we've saved it. On Jesus, he said, so pleased for him. It's been a long period for him without goals. And today to score 3 goals, the 3 types of goals he scored tonight as well, and many actions he was involved. He looks really sharp. I think it's a great thing for him. Great thing for the team that we can rely on a player with such quality. Same with Kieran, Tierney came off with cramp. Same with all the players who haven't started many games and had the chance to do so. Obviously, we need to pick up momentum. Arteta alluded to that. Whether Jesus could be a game changer this season. Well, yeah, he brings quality. He has that quality. He has a way of creating, generating situations that is quite unique. Gabby at that level obviously is a big asset. Again, we had to make changes. No one can disagree with that. It worked, people. On what he believes Jesus can reach this season, it's now about consistency, which again, for someone that's near, their peak powers or in their mid to late 20s, these are probably conversations we should be having for Lewis Skelly and Ethan. But we're at where we're at, and for what it's worth, don't think Mikel Arteta is wrong, because this is a great moment for him, great moment for the season. But what he does beyond this point, whether it's a springboard and we look at this moment as where Jesus finally re-arrived, or he reverts back to type, I don't know. For what it's worth, I do think Gabriel Jesus will be on the bench against Crystal Palace, but you could make a case of maybe not necessarily up front, because I think you need to go with Kai Havertz at Selhurst Park, maybe potentially off the left-hand side. I don't know, people. So now, obviously, this is a moment of spark that will give him so much confidence, not only to him, but to the team as well. Now we can rely on him to change those games. And now we need to take it and give him more games, give him chances, because when a player is in that moment, it's important to continue that. Of course, Odegaard and Saka are vital. He did say Tierney had a cramp. You would have seen Tierney yesterday playing slightly further forward. He's playing to his strengths. That's something that we have to continue to learn, because they give you a lot of information. They tell you not sometimes with their words, but with a lot of information where they feel more comfortable. And certainly there's a much better fit for him. And on whether Jesus' goals makes for a selection headache, let's see. Let's enjoy tonight and start to think. So probably not. It's good that we have players that are knocking on the door and telling the team I deserve to be there. It's a good problem to have. It is, but I wouldn't read too much into it. You never know with Mikel Arteta. You do think something different needs to be deployed. That could be that. Jesus scored more goals for Arsenal against Crystal Palace than he has has in any other game in 2024. Boy, so Jesus, it's these kind of statistics you need to eradicate. His last two goals at the Emirates Stadium, people, were actually, obviously it took him a year to bag. He last scored on the 17th of December against Brighton, and then he scored against Crystal Palace, and he made up for that game in isolation with 3 goals. But we've got a long way to go where Jesus is concerned. How did Sterling miss that? The more I look at it, I'm like, oh, Sterling, come on, because he was actually having a decent game. I don't need any statistics to say anything, but in the 45 minutes that Odegaard played, he had 42 touches, completed 30 of his 33 passes, generated 3 chances, had 2 take-ons and completed them both, won 2 duels, and walks away with 2 assists. Big up Capitano, man. And obviously, happy birthday to Gabriel Magalhaes as well. It feels like in the last 2 weeks, there's a lot of birthdays and a lot of people a lot of partners of these footballers are getting pregnant. So it's busy times at the Emirates. Bukayo Saka, and I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much, not necessarily to this season, but seasons beyond. What do you lot make of what Saka has said here, people? In relation to us getting close but not getting over the line in the league, and obviously for England in the Euros, he's played in 2 finals and not 1. It's horrible, man. I'll be honest, finishing runners-up in 2 European finals for England and runners-up twice in the Premier League with Arsenal, it's that extra fuel for me, that extra motivation for me. I definitely want to get over the line this season and try to lift a trophy for sure. We are not scared to say we want to win it. We feel we are ready to compete for a trophy this season. We really want to take the next step and win something. I would love the Premier League. I would love the Champions League. I am definitely not turning up my nose at a potential another FA Cup or the League Cup, people. So we're going to have to go and see exactly what's going on. Apparently, people, Arsenal led the Premier League by 8 points in April 2023 before finishing 5 points behind City. After 16 games this season, Arsenal's tally of 30 is 10 less than at the same stage in 2020. 23 and 6 times worse than last year. Anything can happen, but it depends where you're at with that data, people. Now, Marcus Rashford's days at Manchester United are numbered. We've all seen the interview, we all see the rhetoric and the talk, and I hate to agree with Patrice Evra, but there's many elements, especially when it comes to winning the Premier League or buying significant players that uplift us, people. It does always feel like it's a next season thing. Inside, Arsenal's plan to have a new striker for next season, despite reservations over Euro goal machine, and why Marcus Rashford is no longer on their list. So he was. By the start of next season, the expectancy for Arsenal is to have a shiny new centre forward. Some say it's 12 months too late. On reflection, there's credibility to those assertions, though full judgment on whether their failure to land a goal scorer in time for this season should be reserved until May. Yes and no, because if we win a major title, then it's not that no one cares, but it proves you can do it. But I mean, week in, week out, I don't think this is, even when Havertz was having the second half of last season, we still wanted a striker, really and truly. I'm going to try and skip past some of these things because there's a lot of waffle there. we know we want a striker for goals and all the other stuff that Arteta wants. Kai Havertz has done well, but he's not kind of that guy. We all know we like Isaac. It's in negotiations with potential centre forward signings ahead of the current campaign. It's understood that Arsenal provided no assurances they would play ahead of Havertz. Nobody should be given assurances. But if you're a top level forward, respectfully to Kai Havertz, and you do want to sign for Arsenal Football Club, you should believe you could take his spot, no questions asked. And respectfully to Kai, if there was any strikers that we heard it with Sesko that got cold feet as to if they would play ahead of Kai Havertz or take his place, then you're probably not for us, even though I like you. But at the same time, I want to pick my words rightly. Not for Kai Havertz, but I feel where the market was concerned going into this season, potentially Kai Havertz's uptake in performances playing up front was probably quote unquote the worst possible thing, because I do think it made us a bit complacent or made us a tiny bit more relaxed in our pursuit of a striker, and maybe not that have that real hunger to get over the line, because the White said, you know what, if we play Havertz up front from the start of the season, then we should see something. I don't know, people. He's got 10 goals so far this season, and he's doing what he's doing. He's one of our top goal scorers in the league in all comps. Among the players who will be considered next summer will be Newcastle striker Isak, who for many is the leading candidate to fill the role as Arsenal's new attacking focal point. Allegedly, he ticks all the boxes for Arteta: quick, sharp movement and a proven goal scorer. There are, though, internal concerns over Isak's injury record, particularly given the intensity of Arteta's teams. And respectfully to Newcastle, he'd be playing more games. That is something that, when we're making videos on this platform and things of that ilk, that is something you lot say. We haven't learned anything new at this moment. Clearly, we like Isak. Clearly, Isak will feature on some sort of list. And the same goes for Benjamin Sesko, who apparently remains of concrete interest to the Gunners. Arsenal held talks with regards to a move for the Red Bull Leipzig forward over the summer. Apparently, people, Gyökeres is coveted by a number of top European teams, but his age could be a concern. How old is Isak and how old is Gyökeres? I could be wrong, but how old is Isak? Okay, Isak's 25. How old is Gyökeres? Because, I'm not being funny. I know it's not the same, but Jamie Vardy kicked his first Premier League ball at 28. Harry Kane, it took him later, not that late, but it weren't like Harry Kane was playing for Spurs week in, week out at 18 and doing his thing. And strikers do tend to peak late. And even if you sign someone that's 28, there's still a number of years. But I get it if Arsenal wants someone with a bit more longevity, more of a return on investment, and kind of tying into, I want to stop saying youngster thing, but the kind of youngster thing that we're doing at the club. To be fair, though, like, let me check that again. Isak is 26 next year. Gyökeres is 27 next year in June. Really? Can you really sit there and talk about a man's age if there's a year apart for Isak and Gyökeres? Has the research been done properly on this article? I'm not too sure, people. Representatives of the striker in relation to Sesko, who scored 28 goals for club and country last season, have been invited to the Emirates on numerous occasions, so relations in that aspect are healthy. But by all accounts, the prospect of playing second fiddle to Havertz raised concerns for Sesko, who signed a new deal with Leipzig. You have got to fight with a Openda as well, so I don't know, man, where I'm at with that. Nevertheless, allegedly, the 21-year-old is expected to again become one of the hottest properties in Europe in the summer of 2025, but he'll want to be sure of regular first-team action. Arsenal will continue to monitor the exciting Slovenian international and will be in a strong position to strike, having already completed much of the groundwork if Sesko is identified as their main target. As you know, we've consistently been linked with Gyökeres, who scored 72 goals since the start of last season. Apparently, the Mail Sport has learned that despite the Sweden international's incredible goal-scoring record, there are some reservations over a move for Gyökeres. The forward has a reported 85 million release clause in his contract, a big financial commitment, particularly when you consider he'll be 27 by the time the next season starts. But even that, let's just assume that you sign him at 27 and he's here and he does his thing for 4 years. Bearing in mind, I'm not saying he's Salah, but Liverpool are doing all they can to commit Salah and Van Dijk. They're not getting any younger. He's 27. Let's just assume that he leaves at 31. That's 4 years of deliverance, people, if I'm honest with you. And by that logic, obviously, there's many reasons as to why we can or can't sign someone like Isak, and maybe won't sign someone like Isak. But by that logic, then Gyökeres and Isak off the radar completely, if I'm honest with you. Sesko will be 22. And as much as it's about stars of tomorrow, and if you could find someone quality that's younger and ticks every box possible, great. But to some degree, you're going to have to kind of do this. And again, I could be wrong with Kai Havertz. He's not that much younger than these guys. obviously Kai would have been here longer, but how far does the logic? Kai's 26 next year. So you'd have players that are kind of ready to impact now. For what it's worth, I've said this before. I don't know anyone at Arsenal, but I think Arsenal probably like Gyökeres. For one reason or another, I think it's more paper talk than actual concrete interest, whether that's because of his release clause, his age, all of them potential concerns you could have people. With Marcus Rashford, apparently he was tentatively considered this summer, but no indications the club wishes to turn back the clock. There also said to be some concerns over whether he, in relation to Gyökeres, can replicate his goal scoring record in one of Europe's major leagues, having built his reputation in Portugal. I think he'll score goals, not to that limit, but I think he'll score goals. There are currently no indications that Arsenal will consider revisiting their tentative interest in Marcus Rashford either. Rashford featured on a list of potential forward signings identified by the Gunners last summer. Apparently, his career at Man United appears to be drawing to a close. He's said that, he's ready for a new challenge and the club are prepared to sell their academy grad. However, the predicted cost of signing Rashford meant Arsenal did not pursue their initial interest in the player last summer. Despite recent developments, Melsport are not aware of any plans to move for the 27-year-old. So it goes out the window if age is really a thing with Gyökeres and Isak to sign Rashford, because Rashford's decision making is still that of an 18-year-old. Between him and Martinelli, we'll go crazy as Arsenal fans. And obviously, if Man United have made it clear that Marcus Rashford is genuinely for sale, then naturally they're going to have to knock a couple million off that price, but it's still going to be a decent fee. His wages are going to be decent. And I believe if we want to be a team that can challenge and do what we've done and get close, but not over the line like the last 2 years, and get to decent rounds of cup competitions without necessarily winning, we've got enough of that. Marcus Rashford can be enough of that, whether we want that or not. If we're trying to win leagues, you need to have more answers than you have questions. We've already got a number of question marks collectively, focusing on the attackers. Saka's going to do the business. Odegaard can create. But it's, in terms of scoring, Saka's the only one. Yes, you hope Jesus can find his boots. You hope Sterling with a platform. Kai Havertz and Trossard have shown they can get goals. But Saka is the only one that you're going to bet your cold-hearted money on in August is going to deliver for the majority of the campaign and not go through rough patches and dry spells and then purple patches, etc. If Marcus Rashford signed for us and he worked, great. But there's too many unanswered questions, really. And I don't care about finances to do with the club because it's not my money. Not that I've got that, but it's not necessarily a guaranteed return on investment, man. And I do think Arsenal fans, some get caught in this trap of, any player that's down on their luck, give them to Arteta and he can work a trick. Do we have to do that with everyone? Moving on, though, the Athletic have kind of done a transfer piece on certain players. There's a couple players of interest, so we'll look at some of them. Apparently, there will be suitors for Ademola Lookman in January, but Atalanta are unlikely to let him go when they're in the Serie A title race and on course to reach the next stage of the Champions League, unless they receive an offer that proves too good to refuse. Lookman is more likely to leave next summer when he'll have 2 years left on his contract. The 27-year-old forward is not expected to renew, making it more plausible he will leave if a suitable bid arrives. Atalanta are expected to have an asking price of roughly 30 million or 38 million. Is that a dollar sign? I mean, 30 million, 27 years of age in the summer, his contract's winding down. Why not? Apparently, interest is building among leading European clubs. It's not as strong from Premier League compared to Italy and elsewhere in Europe. Now, things can change, people. PSG were previously interested in him, so we'll have to see exactly what's going to happen in that. But, I mean, you saw him in the Europa League last year. You saw him score against Real Madrid. He got African Football of the Year. He's a good player in it, and it would do well. He'd do well at Arsenal, in my opinion, and he's doing his thing in Serie A. Away from him, Leon Delap's been linked with us. He's already generating interest among bigger clubs over a potential move next summer. We'll have to see exactly. Apparently, City have a buyback clause. Arsenal, Manchester United, Chelsea have been linked with him. So we'll have to see exactly what's going on. Wirtz apparently is expected to sign a new deal, people, at Leverkusen. Apologies. He's someone that's probably just an impossible dream. I know we're not getting him, but would love him. Benjamin Sesko, we've kind of gone over that. He does have a contract that lasts until 2029. Newcastle, maybe he's a replacement for Isak. Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United still linked with him. You'd imagine he moves on next summer, innit? So we'll have to see exactly. Zubamendi, apparently multiple well-placed sources believe Zubamendi is now coming to terms with the idea of leaving Sociedad, anticipating that happening next summer. Liverpool have been linked. Arsenal are among multiple long-term admirers. There has been suggestions of going to Manchester City and Real Madrid. So we're going to have to see. Nico Williams, who knows, man? We know Barcelona tried to get him. We all know about he earns big money. We all know about his release clause of 46 million. Apparently, people, he would prefer not to move in the winter market, but you never know. Either way, the likes of Arsenal, Bayern Munich, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Tottenham Hotspur are among those who hold long-standing admiration. People, Alphonso Davies has been linked with a lot of clubs, and apparently there are Premier League clubs interested in him. He's actually been linked with Arsenal because his contract is running down. Probably Musiala's another dream. We can kind of forget about that. Xavi Simons, the Athletic, have said Arsenal, Barcelona, Bayern, Liverpool, and Real Madrid are seen as the most probable destinations, while Manchester United showed some interest during the previous market. Apparently, Leipzig, his current temporary employers, want him on a permanent. PSG views Simmons as a golden opportunity. Either way, they either retain the top talent or trade him at a huge profit. Unless something goes badly, his anticipated transfer fee is 80 million euros a minimum, people. Gyökeres, we've gone over that. Jonathan David's contract's running out. I don't necessarily think Arsenal are interested. Once upon a time, we was linked with Mark Gurhey, whose contract is running down. I personally think he is going to leave Crystal Palace. You just never know, though. Joshua Kimmich, once upon a time, was linked with us. I don't think we're going to sign him. But Lemba would be an amazing signing for us, people. But again, he's going to cost a lot of money. He's got a deal until 2028, and he's 18 and he's playing week in, week out in the Prem. We'd all love Arsenal to sign Hato, for me, anyways. Arsenal have been long-term admirers, but their signing of fellow left-sided centre-back Calafiori means any pursuit is unlikely. You never know. Apparently, a senior Ajax source has said, I'm afraid that next summer we will lose him. Boy, it is what it is. You would have seen Kieran Tierney got his first start in Arsenal in like a million years. He also has a bit of news come out around him. Yesterday, David Ornstein said Kieran Tierney will leave Arsenal next summer at the latest after the club decided against activating an option to extend his contract. So we're letting him go on a free, essentially. While Tierney's deal expires in June, Arsenal, they might as well let him stay then, unless you sell him permanently in the summer. I mean, in January. Might as well let him stay for the season then and just be a body. Arsenal retained the ability to prolong it by 12 months, which still could be activated. That would enable them to utilize the left back 27 for longer or secure a fee if they elected to sell him at the end of this season. I think whether we should be getting a fee for Tierney or not, probably see that as an opportunity to clear a decent amount of wages off the wage bill. Potentially Zinchenko could move on. Partey's deal is running out, as is Jorginho's. Zinchenko, as I said, has got 2 years left. You could still make a case of Gabriel Jesus being sold. Whether he is another thing. This cleans up resources. So we'll have to see, people. But it looks like an end of his career. It could be back to Celtic. Apparently, the Telegraph understands that Celtic are keen to bring Tierney back home to his boyhood club. His high wages at Arsenal could make a January switch difficult for Celtic, with a move in the summer regarded by sources as a more likely outcome at this stage. Now, I don't know Tierney, but you'd imagine he knows to make that move to Celtic, I'm going to have to take a wage cut. Maybe he's earned a lot of money, thinks he's all right now. I'll take a bit of wage cut to probably simply put, feel happy again, people. I don't know. Apparently, Arsenal have taken Wolves left back Lennon Patterson on trial. The 17-year-old trained with Arsenal's first team last week and also played for the club's under-21s. He actually did against Sunderland, in which we lost on Monday, people. Bakayoko, a player that plays for PSV that we've been linked with. This report simply says he's moving ever closer to signing for Newcastle, people. We were once upon a time linked with a certain German, people, Jamie Whalen. Apparently, he's set to sign a new deal at his current employers. Allegedly, we sent scouts, and apparently we had plans of signing him for 22 million, people. So yeah, you never know, but there you have it, people, in that regards. We've been linked with another Scottish player, ironically. A rising Scottish Premiership star is on the radar of at least two massive Prem clubs. Arsenal and Newcastle are both scouting the teenager and watched him score his first professional goal over the weekend. St Mirren starlet Avon Mooney opened his account for the Paisley club when he netted their second goal at McDiarmid Park on Saturday. Fair enough. It was only his second appearance. I mean, naturally, we should be scouting the best from everywhere, people. So we'll have to see. I'm going to do my research, man. Any 17-year-old playing regular football is, going to flag eyes on the radar. Arsenal apparently are ready to sign Dewsbury Hall from Chelsea. I don't believe that, but you never know. Yesterday, we were linked with Marco Canasesi, an Italian keeper who plays for Atalanta. We've been linked with him as far back as 2020, people. We know we need to sort out the goalkeeping situation. Gabriel Jesus and Vlahovic swap deals are still not going anywhere, people. Allegedly, we're still interested in Mohamed Kudus. We're linked with another left back, Maxime de Cooper, ahead of the or ahead of the January window. And apparently Arsenal and City are doing their homework in relation to a potential January deal. Now, I know many people will see Arsenal linked with a left back and say, what we doing? We have other priorities. I hear that. Don't mind us signing a winger, want a striker, want a left 8. And on the face of it, we do look well stocked defensively. But when you break it down, you can make a case of, yes, Lewis Skelly getting in contention, but Kivior could be moved on. Zinni could be moved on. Being devil's advocate, if the club say, you know what, Tomiyasu, we like everything you do on the football pitch, but you're never there, you could be moved on, whether they do or not. So you could make a case of another left back. Plus, Arteta seems to have a fetish for that. And obviously, Tierney's also going to leave. Not that he's part of the first team per se. Once again, apparently we're among clubs monitoring Alphonso Davies at left back. So we're keeping up the theme with left backs there. Always